Now I want to spend a little time on the daylight plane and or any other objective standards for solar. And this is going to be more of a speech than questions. We got to have this work from Opticos, and they came forward and indicated, here are the things we might do in phase 1. Here are the things we might do in phase 2. And they included looking at solar access. Council members Hahn and Wengraf and I, with the mayor, agreed not to put forth our detailed recommendations that we brought to the council a couple of months ago, with the understanding at the meeting, and I went back and listened to the tape, that those ideas would be considered. And I see other people smirking, and I think that's not appropriate. We were assured that our ideas would be among those included. Ben Noble, the consultant, did include some consideration of solar, and I understood Councilmember Droste or Vice Mayor Droste's point that if we look at massing, that might be the best way to look at solar protection, but I want to make sure that's true. So I hope as you work on the housing element and you consider massing, that as a sub-bullet to that, you think about how it impacts solar access. Why do I care about this so much? I think there's been a misunderstanding that solar is the provenance of rich homeowners. Affordable housing developers, churches, schools, theaters, and municipal buildings in Berkeley all have solar because it is cost effective and ensures reliability. We have an impressive 3,600 solar installations in Berkeley. This is no small thing, providing 16.6 megawatts of installed capacity. Examining solar capacity in Berkeley using data from PG&E shows that 55% of the installed capacity is in the flatland districts, not in the hills. And a lot of that is along transit corridors and could be at risk with development if we are not careful to consider the impact on solar. Then looking at Alameda County tax data, my staff developed a map of non-residential buildings, including those of nonprofits, churches, schools, et cetera, with solar arrays. These are at best, 95% of them, 1, 2, or 3-story buildings that could easily be shadowed by a 4-story building. The only one of the nonprofit or municipal buildings or churches or schools that is not that small is the Brower Center. So many schools, places of worship, and others are at risk of having their solar panels shaded. There are 8 schools, 5 churches and places of worship, 2 nonprofits, 2 city buildings, 2 libraries, and 2 theaters that are under 4 stories. 12 of these buildings are within a map of major transit corridors, including, and particularly I'm concerned about, the Ed Roberts campus, which has solar panels, the West and South Berkeley branches of the public library, the Ashby stage where Shotgun performs, Berkeley High School, the North Berkeley Senior Center, and Washington Elementary. The first school with solar panels, for which we need to thank Tom Kelly of Kyoto, USA. He fought long and hard to get these solar panels on this school. These are all along transit corridors. A solar array only needs a small amount of shadow to cut its output dramatically. We could say, and I agree, that housing is climate action, but so are solar panels. The Ed Roberts campus, next to the Ashby BART station, may have its solar panels rendered completely useless with an improperly designed building that does not consider it solar. Other cities that build a lot of housing do this. El Cerrito, which is so impressive. It has 161% of their current RHNA target, which I know will change, met. And really impressively, 118% of its very low income target met. Santa Monica and San Francisco all use some objective standard for solar. We do it ourselves. University Avenue has seen developments at the hotel on University in Sacramento. I love that hotel. And at Trader Joe's on MLK and University, with no problem incorporating an objective standard for solar that exists along the university corridor. Basically, what I want to say is we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can upzone with foresight. We can densify and protect existing solar. We need every single tool in our toolbox to stop the 1.5% rise in temperature. And these tools need to work together, new solar and new housing in tandem. If we expect them to coexist, planning for density standards needs to be concurrent with developing an objective standard for solar. Just like we don't want to build housing out in the desert because it's bad for the environment, I don't want to build desert solar farms either. And I know that Mr. Tregu mentioned microgrids. That is far, far, far in the distance. We see that the CPUC is not promoting microgrids. It is the people that have solar on their roofs that are producing this solar for us. I have to say that the CPUC also ironically, just a few weeks ago said that there are 3 stools in making sure we have a reliable electricity supply, one of which is rooftop solar, the second of which is investor-owned utility work, and the third is energy efficiency. Rooftop solar is one of these 3 legs of the state's 3-pronged approach to make sure our lights don't go out. We can't remove this leg without the stool collapsing. This council and our EBCE, East Bay Community Energy, have stood against investor-owned utilities' threats to rooftop solar. But we should do the same with investor-owned development communities' threats to our solar. This is not a small matter. 3,600 properties is not a nothing. 25 nonprofits along transit corridors is not a nothing. And I have a lot to say about Tony Mester's recent note, but it's very technical. I don't think we have to do the daylight plane, but I think we have to do something to incorporate maintaining these solar arrays in our standards. So whatever we can do, whatever, looking at San Francisco, Santa Monica, El Cerrito, Albany, the cities go on and on and on that have done things to protect the solar plane. I want to see us do it. We are not stupid people. This is a really smart group of people here on this panel, and all the staff. We can do both of these things. And I think I'm very sad that we think we can only do one and not the other. And I do agree housing is climate action, but I also agree that so are solar panels. And this loss would be so significant, we would not survive it. And basically the planet wouldn't survive it. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Councilmember Tapp.